Hello, everyone. Welcome. Nothing much has happened in a strategic sense during the last week. There are a couple of hotspots on the front line, and we are definitely preparing for the big, I wouldn't say resolution, but at least the start of the very important phase of this war that is coming maybe in a week, plus minus or so. But let's get to the important part. So, what did we find out by the end of this week is more understanding about where the forces are located and concentrated in Kherson area. We know now that about 1/3 of the forces is roughly located in this area, whereas 2/3 are more towards the north. So it is expected that this force will try to kind of push alongside the road and push these forces out, whereas this force supposed to kind of push Ukrainians back beyond the river, which is running here, and then should go towards the north side, whereas this force that's going to move as essentially as a main attacking force, they're going to push north. And while the siege of Mykolaiv is kind of self-obvious that this is what's going to be done, if the attack comes, if the Russians will not reinforce their defense lines and will not go anywhere, that's going to be a big question what they're going to do. But it seems that they're preparing for assault. But on this northern offensive, there are two kind of thoughts that I've heard from the analysts. One is that they're going to try to siege Kryvyi Rih, which is actually, it's dubious by some others because saying like there is no other supporting troops, so it's just going to be like a road to Kryvyi Rih, but Kryvyi Rih is a huge city. I'm going to actually switch for that to the satellite view just so you see what I'm talking about. So if you see Kryvyi Rih, so it's a particular city. It's a very, very long city. Yeah, and well, I think it's these are the factories. It's like more like this. So sieging or encirclement of it is kind of problematic. It's a heavy industrial city, and we know that Ukrainians love industrial areas. They love fighting in them because there is not a lot of civilians in those areas, and there's a lot of really nice covers or places to hide, like hangars or other installations that they can use to their defensive advantage. So some other possibilities that I've heard was that the Russians are gonna instead try to push alongside the Dnipro River and maybe siege Zaporizhia from this side. So take basically the whole Dnipro River. So take Nikopol and maybe move alongside this way. And they expect to be supported then by the forces that are here. So they basically try to siege Zaporizhia from two sides and maybe then kind of encircle here. That's the plan. Like, don't expect this to happen. I'm stating you right away. All the analysts are agreeing that the Russians don't have the forces to do this, but it seems that this is the plan. And then they take Zaporizhia, then they take a couple of more bridges that they can use to cross Dnipro. Amazing. Russia is winning on all fronts if you look at their plans. But that's the situation. So two schools of thoughts where they're going to attack on the north, one school on the south, but they maybe still will abandon their attack plans and will just defend this area. Then it will be a little bit tougher for Ukrainians. With regards to the southeast, we know that the Russian forces are concentrating in these two areas, but it's not enough forces to actually be kind of main battle force. So it's expected that they will be supporting force. Firstly, they will try to stop and plug in the holes wherever they are on this line. And secondly, it is expected they will kind of advance and try to entangle any kind of forces that Ukrainians are having on this direction. So if the Russians are advancing here, then they cannot just go and support essentially they cannot leave to help defend against the forces that are going on this northern side of the river. That's what the experts are saying, and this is what should we expect. So some of the important hotspot that was happening was around Donetsk. It was the assault on Pisky village here and on Avdiivka, a big important defensive settlement, and as well as also north from Avdiivka. So I was telling you that we should expect maybe those two battlegrounds to fall. However, also at the end of that report, I stated that there has been now reports that support came, and now Pisky and Avdiivka should get a little bit easier for the troops, and it did. So now the Russians have been pushed back, and while they're still trying to attack those villages, they are not having a good time anymore. And while the situation is still tough, it is now controllable. A little bit more kind of success that Russians are getting and momentum is on the north side of Avdiivka. Their goal is to basically get to this road and cut it, so the supplies will not come to Avdiivka that easily. All in all, I think this is well supported, and the analysts are saying that, and again, two options, the same way as with attacks. We know that if there's going to be an attack on Kherson, then it is expected, either one part of the analysts are saying that this is a diversion around this area where the Russians are attacking here and here. Basically, they're trying to attack, and they're creating a diversion, so Ukraine sends over some of the reinforcements, and then they will not have enough forces to defend this advancement here. Or this is essentially, I've heard also saying that this is the second main attack line, and then they want to try to exit towards Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, or try to cut out the whole area. Like, I've heard like weird, wild presumptions, like someone saying that yes, Russia is now just gonna attack on the south, and then at the same time we're gonna attack here, and then attack here, and then cut off the Kramatorsk, Sloviansk. I've seen various dream scenarios. So right now, it seems more for me, and this is my speculation, that from what I've heard, it seems that this is more of a diversion, because they've taken a lot of troops out of Donbass, and these troops are now attacking very aggressively, and I know that they are suffering significant casualties. And in my perspective, I'm going to agree with those saying that this is a diversion, so the Ukrainians will send those reinforcements to the east to support the Ukrainian troops. The same goes for the area around Bakhmut. Ukrainians are trying to keep essentially the straight line to keep the front, but they are still going to be trying to essentially have Bakhmut as a siege settlement. It's going to be a defense lines, but it would be expected that the Russians will walk around Bakhmut, because this is how they changed their tactics. So we should expect that maybe Russians will try to capture Kodyma into encirclement, and then move towards maybe Chasiv Yar or here to encircle Bakhmut, and also go through this northern side, but they will need to advance to Soledar before that. So that's kind of the expected part. And then maybe like the final plan that they would want to do maybe is to get Soledar and then try to maybe cut it up, but it's a long shot. There is not that much forces that are left here that support attacks on the Siversk. What is happening on the Izium front is, on the other hand, very interesting. So we know there was like significant, the main battle force here around Izium. And we know that about half of that force was literally moved to attack on the Kherson. So this is a Kherson attack line. So half of it moved. And now we know that additional part, unknown part, was moved kind of towards the western part of this direction, and they're trying to essentially to attack Prishep to take this direction. And this allowed basically Ukrainians to advance and take additional settlements. Remember last time there was only this small kind of attack here, and now they're advancing on this front, and they're pushing towards Izium. And this is unverified. There has been reports that Russians are literally routing on this line of attack, that they advanced, but the Russians just run. And this is not verified, so take it with a grain of salt, but we know and see that Ukrainians are having enough forces here to advance towards Izium. So one of the analysts are saying that this is maybe because Russia wants to add attack on Kharkiv as a threat, so the forces will be then here and here, and because we know that the fighting is here, that is happening. And then they try to threaten Kharkiv again, but this is a far shot because there is not enough forces in this area to fully encircle and siege Kharkiv. So it's just a threat for closer fighting around the city, but there is no chance of in the world that they're taking it right now. So this paints the great picture. We're waiting for the Russians to continue to finalize their plans and then either attack or defend this area. If they attack, they're going to attack either here, or here, or here. And then we should expect that this, and maybe around Kharkiv is going to be a diversion attacks around the area. That's kind of the big plan for the Russians, and I'm not sure if this will work. Like, to be honest, obviously the main force right now is here, right? And we know that Russia still have a lot of equipment, but there are reports that the forces here are not in the best state. Let's put it this way. There's a lot of stuff that they're having, but they are essentially sitting ducks, and it's not completely clear if the generals are actually completely aware of the status of that military. But we'll see. We'll see. We should expect maybe a week or two, or maybe a little bit earlier, when some kind of a significant movement will start. And as you know, I'm going to be taking a vacation next week that was planned with my wife for a while ago, and I will not have access to my computer. So unfortunately, no Sitrep next week, but I'm going to be recording a video today right before we leave. So I will be releasing one video next week, and then the closest Sitrep is going to be as soon as I come back next weekend. Thank you for watching. Continue supporting Ukraine. We will win.